first update, before I say anything else, because I meant to say this for weeks now, but I just kept on forgetting. I found the ant in my room. Oh, did I not change the title? Whoops, my bad. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned that there was an ant in my room. Not a spider, not a centipede, an ant. A pretty big ant, too. It was on my ceiling, and then when I tried to get it, it fell, and then I couldn't find it anymore. So I mentioned that a couple weeks ago, and then, a couple days later, when I went back into my room, I looked up, and it was there again. The exact same spot, on the ceiling. I guess even ants are creatures of habit. Okay, I updated the title, refresh. Is it dead? I don't know. This happened weeks ago. I caught it and I released it outside. But yeah, can you believe that? The ant in my room that I lost? A couple days later, I found it in the exact same spot. You gotta love the reliance of the fact that animals are creatures of habits. They will return to the same place, despite their better judgments. Okay, so, once again, lots to talk about. I was gonna do this yesterday, but I ultimately did not, for a very simple reason. I didn't have time to watch all the shows. Look, I'm trying, okay? There's a lot of TV shows that I'm currently watching, and there's shows I have yet to watch that I'm not even discussing here yet. I'm trying, okay? There's only so much time I can put aside a day to have 4 different TV shows to watch. And only 4! You know, there's 2 other shows at the moment I haven't even started yet, those being Seasons 2 of Ted and Beast Games, and From has started its 4th season as well. On the bright side, we're almost done with Invincible. The season's already done, but I'm not done discussing it yet. Once we are done with Invincible, then From will fill in, because nature abhors a power vacuum. So once Invincible is done, we'll move on over to discuss From. Yay, this show is back. Alright, so today we have once again the same itinerary. We have Invincible, we have The Boys, we have Daredevil, we have Monarch. But before we talk about the shows, just a couple of things that I want to go over, a couple of things I would like to report on. First of all, Gen V has been cancelled. After 2 seasons, Gen V is not returning for a 3rd season. Well, that's a bit of a shame. The show was okay at best. But, yeah, it's still a bit of a shame to see that the show has been cancelled, you know? Considering that it's not ever going to get a solid conclusion. But you know, on the bright side though, Prime Video, Amazon, they may have cancelled Gen V, but one show they did not cancel, in fact, one show that is going to get a definitive conclusion is Hazbin Hotel. Earlier today, we got the Season 5 announcement, and the fact that Season 5 will be the final season. Season 2? We're only at Season 2. Season 3 is not even out yet. They announced Season 3 and 4 back-to-back, but now, randomly, they announced Season 5, and that 5 will be the ending. So, at least, we got that on the bright side. Gen V may be cancelled, but we are at least getting a definitive ending for Hazbin Hotel. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. These small creators getting to see their entire visions played out. So that's a good thing. I still have yet to watch Hell of a Boss. And speaking of something I have yet to watch, No Shame in Feeding shared this with me a little while ago. The fact that The Amazing Digital Circus is coming to an end, And the finale is gonna be released theatrically. Or at least I think that's how it goes. Do you now grasp just how busy I am with all this content to watch? And this is just the surface, too. There's a lot of films I haven't gone over yet. But speaking of films, we actually do have solid confirmation. This is 100% happening. Unless something happens again, we are actually getting a sequel to World War Z. The zombie movie that came out 13 years ago. That for a decade they've been trying to get a sequel out, but still haven't even made the first step in the process. Well, Paramount has officially confirmed that yes, we are indeed getting a sequel. But yeah, first of all, this is pretty crazy. 13 years later, we get the announcement of the sequel. I mean, I'll be there. I'll watch it. I never read the book, so I don't know how much of a disappointment the film is, but that's besides the point. This is just the announcement. I don't think they've even begun any sort of production yet. So I've been hearing online that it's rumored we are going to get a 2030 release. A 2030 release. If that really is the case, if World War Z 2 really does release in 2030, it will have been 17 years since the first film. And you know, a little side note, speaking of zombie movies, I still haven't watched 28 Years Later. I always meant to, but, well, time just kind of got away from me. So, yeah, I still need to watch and go over 28 Years Later at some point. That came out, like, last summer, and I still haven't watched it yet. I remember, because my cousin was here. He still hasn't given me my Skyward Sword back yet, by the way. He was here, and he watched it, and he said it was a disappointment. Then again, my cousin is, like, I don't know, 13? I forget how old he is. Let me think. Anything else for me to report on? Oh, right. We also did get the first teaser trailer for Clayface. So even more films to get excited for this year. I don't know which film I'm more excited for. Supergirl or Clayface, and that bar is pretty low. I'm not particularly excited for either of these, so I don't know which one I'm more excited for. I mean, Clayface, it looks okay. It has a severely different tone than Superman, Supergirl. I really don't know what James Gunn is doing over there, because Clayface is going to be our first introduction to Gotham City in the DCU. Not a Batman movie, not a Batman project, a Clayface movie. This is going to be the first introduction to Gotham. Well, whatever. It releases October 23rd, a full year before The Batman Part 2. Can you believe that? We got the entire production and release of a James Gunn DC, well, Gotham-centered film before The Batman Part 2. How nuts is that? Anyway, so I got a shiny Smeargle in Pokemon Go today. That was unexpected. It's actually my very first shiny Smeargle in Pokemon Go. And when I got it shiny, I'm like, what the hell? This is turned on? I didn't hear any news of it being turned on. Because normally in Pokemon Go, Smeargle is shiny locked until they turn on the shiny for specific events. And, you know, literally every instance in the past, I got fisted hard up the ass by the odds. I never got a shiny Smeargle. Until today. So, turns out that ever since the update that completely revamped how shinies work in Pokemon Go, I guess it's been permanently turned on? I don't know, that's what I heard. Or at least that's what I got. That's a response I got when I asked around. And also today, I got this. This is the Pokemon Swing Collection 3. I only wanted the Greninja. But eBaying the Greninja alone would have cost me like 50 bucks. So instead, I bought the entire set for how much? $98 flat. Just because my sister has a friend who sells these, or at least, you know, has a little store that sells these figures, these blind box figures. So she was able to order the set for me and sell it to me at $98. So 98 divided by 6. Wait, yeah, 98 divided by 6. $16.33 per figure. So, you know, paying $98 for the whole set versus $50 for one, I don't know, I feel like that's a much better deal. But this is only one of many sets I want. And I'm not going to buy them immediately because, you know, money. Room for one more? Of course. But give me a moment, I'm almost finished this run. Also, I think it was yesterday, I started this. In my Pokemon Go, I made it to page 6 for the Shiny Diancie Masterworks research. Receive 30 souvenirs from your buddy. This is a lot tougher than I thought. At first, I thought it was receive 30 gifts. No, the gifts have to specifically be souvenirs. That makes it much more difficult. Because every time my buddy brings me a gift, I have a 1 in 3 chance of it being... I have a 1 in 3 chance of it being a souvenir. Yes, 1 in 3. Because I have the chance of getting a souvenir, getting items, be it berries or potions, or I get nothing at all. Does anyone else get that glitch in Pokemon Go? You just don't receive anything from your buddy's gift? It would have been 1 in 4 chance, but, you know, my buddies don't ever bring me stickers. Because I don't use stickers, so I always have them maxed out. Anyways, you can't access your Pokemon Go anymore? Oh, that's a shame to hear. Sorry to hear that. Okay, enough blabbering because I have a lot of shows to go over today. Ooh, we are first going to go over Invincible, and I have a lot to say about this episode in particular. A lot. The hell? Is someone knocking? What? Anyone else heard that? Whatever. Okay, so let's begin. Let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Invincible, Season 4, Episode 7. This is the second last episode for Season 4. Okay, so we begin the episode by seeing an alien race attempting to sabotage Viltrumites with an explosives. What? With explosives, not with explosives. And we see the Viltrumites hold a meeting where Thetis is actually suggesting mercy to them. We meet for the first time Emperor Argall, voiced by Frank Welker. You know, the voice of Megatron. So in the room, we have Optimus Prime, Megatron, Mr. Krabs, and Ronan the Accuser. What? Anyway, so we see Emperor Argal. He asks Regent Thrag for counsel. So by this point, Thrag is already Regent. Anyway, so Argal, he suggests his cruel ways to reduce the planet's population by 25%. Thetis is at first against that, but then he backs down, knowing that he will get absolutely smoked by Argal. Thrag actually decides to show Thetis mercy. Because Argal is just like, well, if you suspect his weakness poses a threat to the Empire, take action. And Thrag's just like, maybe I'm mistaken. Actually showing mercy. Anyways, do you want to join? But we see, thanks to Thrag's mercy. Alright, there's the code. We see, thanks to Thrag's mercy, Thetis actually assassinates Argal. We don't really see the kill on screen, but I mean, that would have been nice to see, but whatever. So now, because Argal is dead, Thrag is made leader of the Viltrumites. And he executes a Viltrumite for no reason? He's just like, will you betray us one day too? I will not. I do not believe you. And then he just executes the guy for no reason? Well, I guess this was before the population was drastically reduced to where, you know, they could just throw lives away at the whim. Or on the whim. And then we see pretty much Thrag's first command is to start the Purge. The Great Purge. Oh, also, while he's addressing the crowd, we actually see Nolan and his mother in the crowd, along with the kids that we saw Nolan teach a couple episodes prior. Now, I've heard a lot of debate online. Is this really Nolan and his mother? Or is it perhaps Nolan's father when he was still young? And, you know, Nolan's mother, when they were both still young, before they had Nolan. See, I would believe that, if not for the goddamn kids. They use the same design for the kids we see a couple episodes prior. I don't know, so people are debating, is this really Nolan, or is this Nolan's father? Implying this is further back in the past. Because something else you want to keep in mind, when, you know what, I'll let you, Dynamax, considering you have fire moves. Something to keep in mind is that when Debbie punched Nolan's, when Debbie punched Nolan's sandpaper suit, Nolan mentions that he's almost 1,000 years old. And we see that just before the Scourge virus hit, Nolan had just reached adulthood. That meant the Scourge virus happened almost 1,000 years ago. Assuming Viltrumites consider being 18 adulthood. So let's say, I don't know, maybe like 980 years ago. Nolan did say he's almost 1,000 years old. So yeah, you have to keep in mind that these events happened almost 1,000 years ago. Would Nolan's father being in the crowd indicate this is even further back than 1,000 years? So you know what? I am going to choose to believe this really is Nolan and his mother, and the same kids that Nolan will teach a little bit later on. You might say that that's just incorrect. That is wrong from the source material. Well, it's not like they haven't diverted from the source material before. Look at how many gender swaps there have been on the show. So, I'm going to believe I'm going to choose to believe this really is Nolan and his mother in the crowd. And also, you have to think about this too. If that really is Nolan and not his father, why does Nolan look so much older than Thrag in present day? Because supposedly Nolan is much younger than Thrag, but yet in present day, Nolan's hair is all gray, while Thrag still looks the same. I don't know, I guess raising a kid puts stress even on Viltrumites. But Nolan was already had gray hair when he went to Earth. Whatever. So, Thrag goes and sits on his throne, aura farms as the purge happens. It's an absolute bloodbath. Thrag tells Conquest and the other Viltrumites the purge is over. Conquest almost looks like he was going to attack Thrag, but even he stood down. So after the Great Purge, we see Thrag addressing the remaining Viltrumites, which remember, Nolan said in Season 1 that because of the Purge, their population was reduced by half. And we see the same kids Nolan would teach also saluting to Thrag. So we see the kids beat the hell out of their fellow kid. But then we see the back of that kid's head alive and well. I guess that explains why the kid is being taught by Nolan, because, you know, he survived. Anyway, so back to present day, we see Thetis rally our heroes to go and fight Thrag. I'm a little disappointed to see that we did not see any sort of encounter between Mark and Battle Beast, because there was no line from Mark like, "Hey, I remember you. The last time I saw you, you almost beat me to death." No, none of that. They just glossed over all of that, I guess. Oh, right, and you would assume that a couple days have passed, because Mark had a chance to shave, maybe even get a haircut. I'm going to assume he packed spare suits, like he asked Art to pack him spare suits. Because if not, then Mark deliberately took the time to go to the tailor on Telescria. So I'm going to assume he asked Art to pack him extra suits. Because remember, Conquest kind of ruined his old suit. So you have to assume a couple days have passed before they fly off to Viltrum. But it's like, wait a second, I thought it would take the remaining Viltrumites in the universe a couple of days to go back to Viltrum. So like, did you waste time? Did you not deploy immediately? Whatever. Anyway, so Mark records a message for Eve. And our characters discuss their last meals. It was a nice vibe until Battle Beast ruins it, saying his last meal will be his own blood as he chokes on it, thanks to a glorious battle. And for the first time in the entire show, someone actually tries Alan's favorite food. Zoe actually tries Alan's Canslock, and she actually likes it. So I'm thinking like, maybe those things really do bang and nobody gives them a chance. So we do hear hints that Thetis won't even spare Mark or Oliver in this war. You know, as he's talking with Nolan. Zoe gets armed with 10 darts to weaken the Viltrumites. The 10 darts housing the poison from those beetles that they seemingly harvested from the wrong body part, but we see it does work. Mark and Nolan, they warned Oliver not to fight Thrag alone. Gee, I wonder what he's gonna do later in the episode. So they fly past the planet's ring of bodies, where, pretty cleverly, Thula is hiding in. And I also have to question this. What about the decomposition? I know it's space. I know bodies get frozen out in space, but like, even meat in a freezer expires. So for 1,000 years, you're telling me a ring of floating bodies around a planet didn't somewhat decompose whatsoever? Okay. Anyway, so Thrag is just floating there, waiting for them. And I'm just thinking, like, did he wait there for days? Did he just float there waiting for days for an attack that might not even come? Because Thrag kind of had that Tony Stark mindset. We have one advantage. They're coming to us. Whatever, so maybe Thrag really did just float there for days, anticipating an attack that may not even happen, but lucky for him, it does happen. Well, Thula cuts Thetis' back. Other Viltrumites attack. There's a big space fight. So we briefly see Thetis versus Thula, and I'm just thinking, Thetis could have easily killed her. Because Thetis, he could have just pulled Thula in by her hair, grabbed her blade, and just stabbed her in the back of the head when he pulled her close. It's like, why didn't you just do that? Like, you could have so easily killed Thula. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone for that. You know what? It's whatever. None of these options are that great anyways. Well, I suppose Slow King would have been okay. Eh, whatever. Anyways, I'm also thinking, why not just rip off Thula's hair to remove her access from her blade? Do you guys remember when Godzilla was fighting Scar King? Godzilla just ripped apart the chain that Scar King had? Why doesn't anyone just do that, but with Thula's hair? Anyway, so we do see that Zoe fires darts towards Viltrumites. They hit Viltrumites, and I suppose it enters their bloodstream and circulates immediately, despite looking like nothing was injected into the body. But because they merely made contact, Alan is able to just, yeah, completely cave in and entirely destroy Viltrumites after they've been hit. It's like, wow, this is some good stuff right here. Too bad they only have 10. So we do see some, like, is this invincible you were talking about? Yes, it is. I don't know, we see probably the most goriest moment in the episode, which happens very quick when Krieg rips open the cut on Thetis' back. We also see Battle Beast finally getting his glorious battle, but I also question, why does Battle Beast even need a mask to breathe in space? Last we saw Battle Beast, he was in the Viltrumite prison fighting the Viltrumites. They were fighting out in space, and then he was floating out in space for who knows how long before traders found him 2 sectors away. So why does Battle Beast even need a mask? Or a jetpack? We also see Zoe fire an explosive at a Viltrumite and his PNG disappears. I saw people pointing that out online. Alright, so all while Thrag is floating there, aura farming, Space Racer arrives. He misses Thrag with his laser, and he brings Ragnar's with him too. But no, he didn't miss Thrag. Thrag just aura farms and slightly moved back so the laser wouldn't hit him. When I first watched this, I'm like, bruh, you missed. You could have taken out Thrag right then and there, but you missed. But no, Thrag actually dodged it. So yeah, Space Racer brings a bunch of Ragnars, and I question, how do the Ragnars know who to attack? For all they know, the Ragnars could have attacked Nolan, could have attacked Mark, could have attacked Thetis, but no, they only attack the Viltrumites that we don't want, that we don't like. Anyway, so Nolan, speaking of Nolan, Nolan tries to attack Thrag. Thrag moves, like I said, and he punches Nolan down all the way to the planet. So, where Nolan lands, I also question this too. I also question, of all places on the entire planet that Nolan could have landed on, he lands right in front of Argal's statue. Right in front of the throne room. Literally, of all the of all the places on the entire planet he could have landed on, he lands at that specific spot. Thrag, well, he only wants to talk to Nolan, and he offers forgiveness. Thrag says that they will restore their people, but I kind of think, why haven't you? You guys have had 1,000 years. Why haven't you even begun to repopulate yet? Yes, I know there's 50 of you. That means the gene pool won't be that great, and it could lead to inbreeding at some point, but like, some is better than none, don't you think? You've had 1,000 years to restore your people, and you haven't even made any attempt yet. Amongst yourselves, I should mention. Who knows if they tried to breed with other alien races out there. I found this line pretty funny too. Thrag mentions that Thetis committed genocide on his own people, but I was thinking, didn't you do the same? You ordered the Purge to happen. Didn't you commit genocide on your own people as well? Thrag also mentions that they merely tested Nolan's sons. Which, yeah, I guess that is pretty true. You know? In a way, you do see Thrag's mercy. You know. You gotta love the Walking Dead connections. You kind of see Thrag's mercy prevail over his wrath. He shows mercy to Thetis, he shows mercy to Nolan, he showed mercy to Mark and Oliver. Well, not so much Oliver. So, like it or not, we do actually see Thrag show mercy. Anyway, so we see Space Racer almost die, but then Zoe fixes his helmet. After some more talking, Thrag punches Nolan so hard with his gravity punch. Yo, Thrag has a punch that can create its own gravity field. That's kind of crazy. And this is actually kind of crazy to think. Thrag punches Nolan so hard that he burns up flying out of the planet's atmosphere. He crashes into another Viltrumite out in space, which I think should have completely split the Viltrumite in half, but whatever. But we even see Nolan continue to fly past the planet's rings of dead bodies. So imagine how far Nolan would have flown if that Viltrumite wasn't there to slow him down. So, gee, who could have guessed? Oliver attacks Thrag alone, and Oliver gets completely bodied. Thrag rips off his arm and jaw. Oops. Well, that's okay. I can just do this so that you can join again. Mark is all upset because, you know, his brother is on the brink of death. Mark reveals to everyone that he kills Conquest, and you just see the shock on everyone's face. Well, actually, Anissa looks more with lust, and Thrag is actually intrigued. He's just like, show me. You killed Conquest, one of our strongest warriors? Show me. I actually like that. I like that Thrag is actually intrigued by Mark's strength. But then Mark punches Thrag where his hairline just eats the punch. We see the impact frames. Oops. And Thrag having the moment where Trigon versus Darkseid, he's just like, I am unimpressed. Well, by now Zoe ran out of darts. Thrag tosses Mark away, and Battle Beast, well, he's on fraud watch because he tries to fight Thrag, but then he also just gets thrown away. Never to be seen again. Battle Beast just gets thrown away, and that's it. He's gone for the whole episode. He's gone for the whole season. He doesn't show back up. So Battle Beast is quite on fraud watch. Alright, so Nolan has a plan. Nolan forms the Flying Wedge to destroy the planet with Space Racer. So here's the plan. Space Racer up front fires a laser to the planet, where then Nolan, Mark, and Thetis, they all work together to fly into the planet with enough force, and that'll destroy the planet. First of all, I'm thinking, can Space Racer not make a vertical line with his gun to cut the planet in half? Oh man, this is a pretty bad path. And I'm also thinking, would a single tiny laser beam really destroy a whole planet? Even with Mark, Nolan, and Thetis flying through it. But anyways, they do so. They fly through the entire goddamn planet, and only their clothed tops burn off. Not their pants. Wow, how convenient is that? It's like only their shirts burn off. Their pants are still intact. When realistically, that should not be the case. And I also wondered, no rock debris stabs them? I mean, for God's sake, Nolan kicked a rock into his mother's eye, and her eye started bleeding. They were flying through an entire planet. Not a single scratch on them. Yes, I know the Space Racer's laser cleared a path for them, but still, they're flying through an entire planet. So we see the level of destruction that's happening on the planet's surface. It kind of resembled the rumbling in Marley, didn't it? Even with the statue collapsing. So when they emerge on the other side of the planet, they just happen to also... There just also happens to be a giant Viltrumite emblem exactly on the other side of the planet. So the planet gets destroyed. I guess planet Viltrum had no animals. It's also lucky that Viltrum didn't have their own version of Underrealm. And you would think the explosion would last much longer. And you would also think our characters would not be at a safe, far enough distance. Oh well. So the planet is destroyed. Even Nolan's a bit disappointed. Is a bit upset the planet is gone. I mean, makes sense. This was Nolan's home planet. Thetis tells the remaining Viltrumites to surrender, but then Thrag shows up with tears in his eyes. And he swiftly kills Thetis. Damn, I like Thetis too. After killing Thetis, Thrag goes after Nolan. Mark tells Alan to go find Oliver, and then he flies over to help Nolan, who for some reason is just taking all of Thrag's hits. Like, he doesn't fight back, he just takes all the punches. And would you believe, we finally in the episode we finally see Space Racer kill Viltrumites with his gun. It's like, it couldn't have been that hard. I don't know, I guess we should go for the fighting type. Which, if we're going for the fighting, we should probably go for flying. So, they need to retreat. They kind of have no choice but to leave Oliver behind, wherever he is. We see the meme of Mark flying away from Thrag. I've already seen edits of Mark flying away from a job application. Thrag guts Nolan and almost kills Mark. He has his hands on his head, crushes his head, and I'm kind of wondering, how does Mark's eyes even bleed? Thrag isn't digging into his eyes with his fingers, he's just simply pushing inwards, so like, how does his eyes even bleed? But Thrag decides to spare Mark, simply because there are too few of them already. Like I said, Thrag constantly showing his mercy. I feel like Thrag has more mercy in him than literally any other Viltrumites do. So, Nolan and Mark are both unconscious, floating out in space. And here I'm also wondering, wouldn't an unconscious body just instinctively breathe? If they're floating out in space, wouldn't they just instinctively breathe when unconscious, and wouldn't they just be dead? Viltrumites can hold their breath for weeks, but they kind of have to be conscious to make the choice not to breathe. When you're unconscious, you kind of just naturally breathe. But whatever. Mark and Nolan, they do get rescued by a ship who I guess also found Oliver. And who also wasn't blown away by the planet exploding. Well, it's revealed that a couple of weeks has passed as Nolan and Mark recover. I guess they were able to recover faster, or I guess Nolan was able to recover faster than Mark was able to, with, you know, the same injury. Due to medical care on Telescria. It took Mark 2 months, but now it's only been a couple weeks, and Nolan was able to recover faster, so I'm assuming it's because Telescria has medical care. Alright, Oliver's in a pod recovering. I think I heard online that Oliver, because of his Thraxan DNA, he can't regrow limbs like pure-blooded Viltrumites or Mark. So he's going to have prosthetics that his skin will just grow over. Alan is now made the new leader of the Coalition and Thetis' replacement. The Coalition is freaking out because the remaining Viltrumites, they just vanish. They just disappear. But Mark realizes they've gone to Earth. Oh no! And there's the episode. I find it kind of bizarre that the Coalition didn't even consider at all that the Viltrumites would have gone to Earth. Mark literally was conscious for a couple minutes, and he was able to deduce they've gone to Earth. Whew. And that was only Invincible. We still have 3 more shows to go over. Okay, let me drink some water and then we'll move right along. I guess give me the expert belt. Okay, let's immediately move on. The Boys, Season 5, Episode 3. We begin by seeing armed soldiers raiding somewhere. where Ryan kills them. Why is Ryan there? I don't know. Maybe I missed something. They didn't really mention that later in the episode. So Soldier Boy is being welcomed back into the world, where while the paparazzi are taking Soldier Boy's pictures, Homelander once again sees the white light and hears the woman's voice again. We do get that reveal later in this episode. Homelander also does officially reveal to the world that Soldier Boy is his father. We see Sage and Soldier Boy, their faces are disgusted that Homelander did that. But yeah, because of this, the boys do see Soldier Boy is alive on the news. And Samir knows it's because he has V1 in his system. At the same time, Sage is also telling them about V1. How V1 makes you immune to the Godolkin soup virus compared to regular Compound V. And of course, this makes Homelander want V1. It not only makes you, wait, Soldier Boy is Homelander's father? Maybe you haven't gotten to that point yet. So yeah, V1 not only makes you immune to the virus, it also makes you borderline immortal. So of course Homelander's gonna want that. So, the boys, they need to kill Homelander before he gets V1. And Butcher wants to do it today. Kinda like the way, you know... Kinda like the way D16, he wanted to take out Sentinel Prime today. Remember that? Oh yeah, also, it's been officially confirmed that Paramount is working on another Transformers film. It's like, well, you're not gonna give us a sequel to Transformers 1. You better be making another live-action movie, and I hope to God you bring back Michael Bay. I don't understand Paramount's problem. They have a gold mine on their hands with Transformers, yet they just shat all over it. They waste all their potential. Whatever. But we do see Soldier Boy is mad at Homelander, mad that he sent him in knowing about the virus. He also calls him weak. Look at you, the weak, wettest boy out there. You're pathetic. Anyway, so we see the boys go to this same location in Gen V, where Huey suggests Annie and Kimiko take V1. Zoe and Stan Edgar shows up. They mention Marie Moreau and the fact that she was the one who set up this meeting between them. They don't want to overdo it like the Fast and Furious series. Well, this is the thing. They're kind of underdoing it. They're not really overdoing it to begin with. They release films consistently up to Transformers 5, but, you know, they kind of pivoted after Transformers 3. And then they super pivoted after the failure that was Transformers 5. And ever since then, they've kind of just been limping across the finish line, giving us disconnected, one-off projects that barely connect. Whatever. So, they go to Stan Edgar's bunker, the same location from Gen V, and Maverick is there. Remember? Translucent Sun? I suppose if you didn't watch Gen V, then you would have no idea Translucent had a son. It was actually Stan who lied to Maverick and told him that it was Homelander who killed his father. It was Homelander who killed Translucent, not this scrawny boy right here, Huey. Anyway, so Stan tells our characters about V1's origins. Huey, he apologizes to Zoe for everything that's happened, and Zoe is still in belief. She still believes that her father is also dead. Yo, why is Heatran kicking our ass? Homelander, he just ponders and thinks about how everyone calls him a disappointment. How Soldier Boy calls him a disappointment. How Stan Edgar calls him a disappointment. Not gonna lie, I'm in the same position as Homelander. Everyone says the same to me. But then he kind of just loses his mind. He kind of just hallucinates, and he sees an angelic Madeline Stillwell who kind of just almost poisons Homelander's mind and tells him that he's better than Jesus. That he is about to ascend and become a god. And I don't know, the CGI depicting this like angelic light behind Madeline Stillwell was, I don't know, comically bad. But I think it was purposely bad. And then hilariously enough, we also see Homelander bask in her angelic tits. Literally, Angel Madeline Stillwell just flashes her boobs in front of Homelander, and it is just a blinding white light. You guys remember the episode of American Dad where the family goes to Saudi Arabia? Steve meets God, who is disguised as Angelina Jolie. He asks to see her boobs, and then it's just like he's looking into oblivion when he looks. It just made me think of that. So, someone is watching as Zoe leaves the bunker, meeting with Ryan. Zoe wants to use everyone inside the bunker to lead her and Ryan to kill Butcher, but, you know, Ryan's a little hesitant. Because Ryan's hesitant, this makes Zoe upset, so she goes back in the bunker. And it's revealed that it was Butcher who was watching Ryan. So they go and have a little chat. Soldier Boy, he walks in on Homelander in a tub of breast milk. We literally see a naked Homelander bathing in a tub. Not just milk, no. He's bathing in a tub specifically of breast milk. And, you know, every time we see Homelander naked, which is actually a good amount in the show, yeah, you can definitely tell the suit is padded with muscles, because, you know, Anthony Starr is not that big. So Homelander gives Soldier Boy one more chance to join him in finding V1. He actually stands up naked in front of him, and then Soldier Boy points out he just has gray pubes. So he finds a document mentioning some place called Fort Harmony, and he believes that he can maybe decrypt what the paper is saying, because all the pages are decrypted. Huey, feeling immense guilt, he tries to talk to Maverick. Maverick mentions his girlfriend, Sloane, the alpaca. Yeah, if you watch Gen V, Maverick really does have a girlfriend who is an alpaca. Yeah. Butcher brings Ryan to a pub, and he tries to convince him to kill Homelander using the virus. Because the only way to get the virus close enough to Homelander is with Ryan, which would also mean Ryan would die. Butcher is pretty much asking Ryan to go on a suicide mission to kill his own father. We see the deep, with noir, Dognot and Cindy driving a Tesla Cybertruck. And unbeknownst to them, Frenchie and Kimiko just happen to see the same Cybertruck driving by at a gas station as they head back to Samir's lab to use Butcher's like decryptor device thing to scan the paper to see what it really says. The two of them, they discuss the future and how Kimiko wants kids. Frenchie, he doesn't want kids, but Kimiko does, so ooh, I don't know. I don't like the direction this is going in. This may hint that one of our characters may die by the end of the season. So anyways, Butcher puts a tracker in Ryan's pocket as he brings up 2 pints of beer. And Ryan agrees to do it. Ryan actually agrees to do this suicide mission. Well, he now knows that Fort Harmony is where to look for V1. But uh-oh, Deep and the others arrive at the bunker. Cindy tries to bend the door to get into the bunker, but it holds for now. But they also question, hey, where's Zoe? Turns out Zoe snuck into the truck with Frenchie and Kimiko to try to go and find Butcher. But instead, Zoe, she finds her father. She finds Samir. And this is very bad. Because, obviously, Zoe will tell her father the truth. Now Samir knows that it wasn't Homelander who killed Victoria Newman, it was William Butcher. So, Samir trashes the lab. Frenchie, he can't let Samir go. So Frenchie was about to shoot Samir, but then Kimiko shows him mercy and lets him go. We see Stan and MM smoke cigars as they discuss MM's father. And how this is all a losing battle. Even if they kill all Soups, something else will just fill the void. Well, this just tells MM that Stan, once all this is over, he plans to seize back control of Vought. And MM just kind of makes him a promise. Once this is done, I will then put a bullet in your head. Well, they find a case, a literal suitcase full of smoke grenades to use. Moving right along, we see a small little like puppet show commercial. Homelander wants Sage to assign everyone to find V1 and to possibly recreate it too. It's like, he's just like, oh, skip the animal testing, we have lots of criminals to test it on. We see Soldier Boy on Firecracker's show. They discuss guns, they discuss Glocks, and then they hook up. Yeah, they smash. Homelander, he's just like, why have a shaved pussy? What's the point unless you can feel some hairs poking you? Like, what? What? But after they finish with their post-nut clarity, they discuss how Soldier Boy treats Homelander. And Sage actually defends Sage defends Homelander. Like, the way he looks at you, he doesn't look that way at anyone else. Firecracker, she also explains how, you know, having a a shaved pussy is kind of like mothering. The fact that to Soldier Boy, Firecracker never hooked up with Homelander. They never smashed, but instead she is more like she treats him more like a mother would treat him. I don't know, it seems like that kind of puts the idea into Soldier Boy's head, like, you know, that kid did grow up without parents. Maybe that would explain why he's such a freak to me. So Butcher brings Ryan to meet Terror for the first time. Remember his bulldog? And Butcher is pretty upset that Kamiko let Samir go. Mommy and daddy problems, yep. Well, Ryan is upset that Butcher lied to him, considering that now without the virus they cannot kill Homelander. They can't kill him quickly, at least. So in the bunker, they give Maverick a smoke grenade to use. The plan is pretty much for Maverick to pull it, run away, don't breathe it in. Yeah, but then when he tries to use it, he gets found by Dognot. There's also this running gag with Maverick, how he uses mango-scented deodorant because it smells like his father. But yeah, Dognot was able to smell something because of that mango deodorant. There's always a nuclear option. Well, I don't think nukes will work on Homelander. Well, we don't know. Well, now that Maverick is caught, the Deep actually tells Maverick the truth. How it wasn't Homelander who killed Translucent, it was Huey. So, Maverick is now feeling betrayed. He actually helps them and lets them in. Anyway, so we also see that Stan Edgar, he betrays the characters too. He locks them in, even dims the lights so that Starlight doesn't have enough energy to work with. And it almost seems like Stan Edgar gets got by Black Noir. But in reality, nah, Stan Edgar played them. He was working with them the whole time too. But the betrayer gets betrayed. The player gets played because the Deep, he uses said canister of tear gas, knocks out Stan Edgar, knocks out the Deep. Wait, what? Knocks out Black Noir. He just tosses Noir out of the car and just drives off with Stan. Well, MM and Annie, they fight Dognot. Huey fights Maverick. Cindy comes in. Annie right behind her. It looks like Cindy killed Huey. So because of this, Annie just swiftly kills Cindy, just easily snaps her neck. It's like, wow, it was that easy? So Annie is about to break down thinking Huey's dead, but no, Huey's alive. It was actually Maverick who's dead. And it's just like, wait, why did Cindy kill Maverick? Like, why? And it's not even like Maverick was in between Cindy and Huey. No, Maverick was in front of Cindy and Huey was off to the side. So like, why did she kill Maverick? Whatever. So, Butcher, we see that he is tracking Ryan. As Ryan visits Homelander at, I don't know, Vought World, as it's being renovated. Ryan asks if it's true, if Homelander really did rape his mom. And then he just attacks. I don't know, Homelander, he's kind of just like high at the moment on his beliefs. He's always like, son, I know what you're about to say. You want to ask for my forgiveness, and you have it. What? Homelander is just like acting like a god figure already. Homelander also reveals that, you know, of course he didn't rape his mom. The two of them had an affair as consenting adults. Now I don't know who to trust. Because when Becca when she went to see Homelander, it almost did look like she went there of her own free will. But who knows? Maybe Homelander blackmailed her, threatened to kill her husband if she didn't sleep with him. That still would qualify as rape, but I don't know. From what we actually witnessed on the show, it didn't really seem like Homelander forced himself onto her. But we don't know everything that happened, so we can really just take it at face value that yes, he did rape her. Anyway, so Ryan tries to attack his father, but obviously Homelander, he overpowers Ryan. Well, he beats Ryan senseless, almost to the brink of death. And then he leaves. Or he leaves off screen, I guess. Well, all this just for the boys to plan to head to Fort Harmony. Annie is upset that Huey almost died, so she just flies off. Butcher finds Ryan, and the Deep brings Stan to Homelander. Yeah, that's the episode. There was also this like small recurring gag through the episode of Kamiko watching a lot of porn, and that just influences the batshit crazy things that she says. But it's like, did she watch porn after she started talking? Like, there's no reason she couldn't watch before she started talking. It almost sounds like she started watching after she started talking. But whatever. And I haven't even mentioned yet that now that Frenchie and Kamiko are together, what a waste of time Season 4 was with that stupid, pointless storyline with Frenchie and that gay storyline with, what was his name, Colin? What a waste of time that was. Alright, let's move on. Quick! Because we have 2 more shows to go over. Okay. Daredevil, Born Again, Season 2, Episode 5. Remember, Episode 4, Vanessa kind of got stabbed in the head with a piece of glass. Oh, I saw someone point this out online. The fact that in the original Daredevil show, we first saw Fisk and Vanessa meet for the first time in Episode 4, and then Episode 4 of Season 2 is when, you know, tragedy struck with Vanessa. So anyways, with this episode, the very first scene is Vanessa having a dream of being on the beach. And that is going to be recurring throughout the episode. But in truth, Vanessa is in the hospital. So, Wilson being by Vanessa's bedside, he orders Powell and tells him that he wants them alive. Like, he reassures him. Alive! So Daredevil helps Bullseye as they go into a random restaurant's kitchen. And they plan to escape using, like, the tunnels. He asks for the boiler, but they then go to a bunch of, like, underground tunnels. Yo, why is Heatran kicking our ass tonight? So Daniel meets with BB in the hospital. Everyone is asking if Vanessa is alive. Daniel reveals that she's currently in critical condition. Fisk meets with a doctor, supposedly the best in the field to you know, operate on Vanessa. And this is what's so amazing. We actually get a ton of flashbacks in this episode. Not really flashbacks, but just scenes taking place in the past. we flash back to Vanessa seeing Rabbit in a snowstorm for the very first time. She questions why this painting isn't displayed to be sold. And then she almost hits it right on the money. Right dead center. She's just like, if you display this, some poor, lonely man will come in and buy it right away. It's like, can this girl see the future? Does she have That's So Raven's power? Did she know that for a fact? Like, damn. If I didn't know any better, if I had money, I would have bought that painting. So Daredevil and Bullseye, they walk. They discuss Vanessa and Foggy. Matt, he's just like, don't you say his name. You do not get to say his name. Don't you say his fucking name. And then we get flashbacks. We get new scenes. Flashing back to Matt and Foggy. We actually see Foggy back, but it's so heartbreaking because we know he's dead in present day. And these old scenes really give off the vibes of the old Netflix show. Not only is the aspect ratio full screen, just like the Netflix show was, but the camera movements, the lighting, it was almost like I was actually watching the Netflix show again. So in the flashbacks, they take up a client that Foggy once knew. His name was McCoy, like Ray McCoy. What? Ray McCoy. But he doesn't want to take the plea deal because he knows he'll just be killed in prison. We see Fisk and Wesley return. We actually see Wesley return. That is amazing. Wesley was killed by Karen all the way back in season 1. At this point, that was 11 years ago. Wesley actually returns. Oh, it's amazing to see him. And they discuss Bitcoin? They discuss other business ventures that they could, they could branch off to. And Wesley mentions knowing someone in an art gallery, knowing some people connected to the art side of the world. So in present day, we see Fisk watches Vanessa during the surgery and her hand points, her hand moves. Oops. Oh, once again, I forgot to invite. Whoops. But yeah, it's like, I thought she was unconscious. How does her hand move? I don't know if that's possible or not. We see Dex, he refuses to move and he wants to die. But Matt, he is actually trying to save him to make up for trying to kill him. So, more of the flashback scenes. Matt and Foggy, they're working for another firm before they open up Nelson and Murdoch. So that implies that this does take place before the Netflix show even starts. And I think they said this, they are like 11 months, no, not 11. They're like 18 months away before they can actually afford to open up their own firm. With the amount of money that they saved up. But given what happens to that money later on, I guess this is even more further out than we thought. But these scenes do take place before the Netflix show even begins. Which is pretty smart. It would be pretty tough for them to shoehorn in these scenes somewhere like in the middle of the original show. So Foggy notices something is invalid with the paperwork, and it could potentially free McCoy. They argue using the evidence to free him or not, since, they're attorneys at law, they gotta present this if it means someone innocent is not gonna go to prison. But then Matt is thinking, well, he's not exactly doing anything good for society. He's not exactly a great inclusion for the neighborhood. Anyway, so Wesley and Fist, they discuss using someone who just moved to town. We see later on who this is. Back to present day. Daniel sees the news report that Vanessa is in critical condition. And obviously, we all know that it was BB who leaked this. Buck comes in and invites Daniel for a hot dog. The doctor tells Fist that the surgery went well and is very optimistic. Oh, why'd you have to say that to him? In the past, Vanessa, she's getting ready to open her own art gallery. And she also more dreams of being with Wilson on the beach. Buck is actually making Daniel drive them to Albany. During the car ride, Buck reveals his past, stuff with Afghanistan. Buck is hinting that maybe it was Daniel who leaked the hospital information. Alright, so they stop. Buck leaves to do something alone, and Daniel is freaking out. He's pretty upset, like, oh man, does this guy, this guy's about to whack me. And, oh yeah, his suspicions, you can't blame him for thinking this, because Buck walks back with a shovel and a hacksaw. Oh yeah, that's a good sign. Speaking of Buck, it's revealed that in the past, Wesley meets with Buck. It was actually Buck in the past who they meet with. And he is assigned to, you guessed it, kill Ray McCoy. At the same time, we see McCoy does go free. He doesn't go to jail. Daredevil brings Dex to the church. Like, these two storylines happen at the same time. Daredevil brings Dex to the church. Matt says that he knows a nurse who can help. Because remember, Dex is bleeding out. He's about to die. Vanessa did shoot him. Matt says he knows a nurse who can help. Could that maybe be Claire? Could we maybe see Claire Temple return? It's been a long time since Claire has returned. I think the last time we saw her was Luke Cage Season 2. So the priest tells them that the task force are here. So the AVTF, they barge in to search. Daredevil brings Dex to a very red back room thanks to the stained glass art. Daredevil is actually about to leave Dex behind, but then he decides to go back for him. And they escape just in time. We also see in the flashbacks that Foggy, he actually visits McCoy and he gives McCoy the money that they have collected for him to start over. McCoy tells Foggy to go, get out of here, but Matt is waiting for Foggy. Well, Matt is okay that Foggy gave away all of their earnings, all their savings to open up their own law firm. Because, you know, it was a good thing for Foggy to do. We also see that, we see Buck arrive and attempt to kill McCoy, but McCoy is running away for dear life, right as Matt and Foggy, well, they're going to Josie's to have a drink. Speaking of Buck, in present day, Buck takes Daniel out to the middle of nowhere. Daniel begs for his life, promising that it wasn't him, he didn't leak the information. And he's just like, alright, prove it. prove that you're loyal. He opens a trunk to reveal a dead body. And he's just like, shovel or saw. It's like, I got no reservations of burying a dead body. You know, I open the trunk and I would be like, I don't know who this is. So Daredevil, he brings Dex back to where they've been hiding this whole time, to where Karen is. Even Karen's questioning, what the hell have you done? Anyway, so after Vanessa's surgery, she wakes up. But she's acting a little differently. She asks for pineapple juice, despite Wilson pointing out that she hates pineapple. Like, it makes her lips tingly. I don't know who hates pineapple, but alright. But yeah, Vanessa, she's acting strange after the surgery. She's asking Wilson to tell the story of how they met. She even reveals that Fisk overpaid for the painting. He like paid 5 times the price. But in Fisk's typical Riz, he's just like, it was worth it. It was worth it. I got 2 art pieces that day. But yeah, something is very wrong with Vanessa, where Vanessa almost like she has crap, what's it called again? Why am I blanking on it? Dementia, that's it. Vanessa almost acts like she has dementia, where she once again asks Fisk, tell me a story about how we met. And then she kind of just flatlines. The doctors come in and try to help her, but well, it's not looking good. And damn, even though Wilson Fisk is a pretty terrible person, I couldn't help but feel bad for him. Like, how emotional he got when Vanessa was literally dying. I couldn't help but feel bad for him. But yeah, Vanessa, it seems like she really does die. And as she dies, we get a flashback to when Fisk and Vanessa first met. Literally, just a scene taken from the first episode that they were in together. Episode 4. Standing in front of Rabbit in a snowstorm. But yeah, Vanessa, she really does die. Or at least it seems like she does. The episode ends, and as the end credits, or with the end credits, we hear waves crashing. Like I said, she constantly dreams throughout the episode of being on the beach with Wilson. Maybe that's all she wanted the whole time. She just wanted a nice, peaceful life with her husband. But given who her husband is, sadly, just a nice beach stroll wasn't gonna happen. This was more of like a Vanessa episode more than anything. And, yo, I don't know what they were using. Like, the de-aging technology... Yo, this is crazy! Because in the flashbacks, Vanessa really does look like 11 years younger. No offense to the actress who, you know, looks substantially older than when we first saw her. I mean, it makes sense. 11 years have passed, but like, whatever de-aging technology Hollywood is using, yo, it is really realistic. Okay. One more episode to go over, and then I can stop talking. So last up we have Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Season 2, Episode 8. I think it's Episode 8, I'm pretty sure. This was a weird episode. This episode, I don't remember if this is the shortest episode yet, or if the last time I mentioned an episode was really short, if that was shorter. Because this episode clocks in at 39 minutes. This is one of the shortest episodes yet. And you know, that's 39 minutes with credits. So yeah, you'll hear what I mean when I say this is a weird episode. Alright, so we begin by seeing Lee just ripping it in Australia where Titan X is. Along with Titan X, on the beach we also see scarabs swarming around it. Monarch, on the other hand, is scrambling on what to do. Director Barris gets ordered by the Secretary of Defense to nuke Titan X. Ah, you gotta love it. Humanity's first response to anything big and scary is to nuke it. We will kill whatever we deem as threats, even if they are peaceful, even if we don't understand it. Kate and Keiko arrive to Outpost 18, where, with Tim, they try to tell Barris that they need to save Titan X, not frickin' nuke it. They also explain that Lee is trying to summon Godzilla to fight Titan X. Ooh, I really like this line too. Tim mentions that Sarazawa says that Godzilla is king of the monsters. And that is actually a pretty fun nod. Because right now the show, at least now, is taking place in the year 2018. In 2019, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, takes place, where he fights Ghidorah. That is a nice nod to literally what is next in the timeline. Oh, little do they know that another G-Day is a year away. Maybe mere months away. Anyway, so we see Lee prepare Suzuki's device to try and call Godzilla. They have around 3 hours to save Titan X, because in around 3 hours, that's when the naval fleet will come in with their nukes. So they have around 3 hours to try to save Titan X. Keiko explains that Bill Randa's notes, according to Bill Randa's notes, Titan X, for centuries, has been going on its migratory routes with no attacks, no incidences, not even being tracked or documented by history. So, if they could simply just get, well, you know, everything was fine up until what happened at Santa Soledad. So, if they're able to get Titan X back onto its migratory route, then they don't have to nuke it. Kentaro also arrives and tells May about Isabel Simmons, you know, daughter of Walter Simmons, founder of Apex Cybernetics. So they convince They convince Barris to try to let them try. Did I just say try to let them try? They convince Director Barris to let them try to save Titan X. Kate and Kentaro finally reunite since Hiroshi's funeral. But Kentaro is secretly working with Isabelle, and they have some sort of secret plan together. And to see through with this plan, Kentaro is joining Kate to go and save Titan X. May, she asks Tim to talk to Brenda because of Isabelle Simmons, and because the fact that May doesn't trust the Simmons. And you know what? In a couple years, for good reason, they developed Mechagodzilla. Anyway, so Lee sees, unknowingly to him, he doesn't know at the time, but he does see Kate, Keiko, and Kentaro flying towards Titan X, but are all startled by birds? Because Titan X is making such a commotion. Titan X is making such a commotion, all the birds are startled and they fly off. And then the birds, they fly into the helicopter and it makes them crash? Would that really work that way? I don't know, remember that really old horror movie based on birds? I think it was literally just called The Birds, or just Birds. Remember that? And then there was never a resolution to that film? Yeah, it's not like it's that. So, because they crashed, Tim orders a medevac for them. And I love this detail too. It literally says on screen, somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Godzilla awakens in his lair thanks to Suzuki's device. We see Godzilla's lair in the show. It's the exact same design as we see in King of the Monsters, where Serizawa sacrifices his life to heal Godzilla with a nuke. So yeah, Godzilla is awoken by Suzuki's device. Lee isn't very happy that Keiko and everyone else are there. Because remember, Lee was thinking this would be a suicide mission. He summons Godzilla to take out Titan X. He will probably get smushed in the process. Only he dies, no one else he cares about dies. So it makes sense he's not very happy that Keiko and her grandkids are here. May goes to an undisclosed Monarch asset management location to talk to Brenda, so we have no idea where this actually is. May tells her that Walter Simmons' daughter met with Kentaro. Like, even asked Brenda, what does Isabelle Simmons want with Kentaro? Brenda almost looks surprised. I don't know, but she also may hint that she knows why. But she doesn't really tell May anything. Yeah, she borderline just tells May nothing. Lee learns of the naval fleet and warns them to stand down due to, you know, Godzilla already being summoned and on his way, probably. So Lee, he tells them, we should all get out of here. Godzilla's about to come. I'll wait for you at the car while you decide what to do. What a stupid move on Lee's end. Because he leaves Keiko, Kate, and Kentaro alone. So now, their plan is for Keiko to distract Lee while Kate and Kentaro try to save Titan X. It's like, wow, Lee, you really should have just stayed with them. So that's the plan. Keiko distracts Lee while Kate and Kentaro try to save Titan X. How? I don't know. Their plan was kind of just to walk up to Titan X and, yeah, that's pretty much their whole plan. Just walk up to Titan X. And they have nothing else planned. Kate discovers that Titan X has made a nest on the beach for its egg. Titan X laid an egg. Kentaro walks away to report to Isabella about the egg and to tell Trissop about the egg. You might be wondering, who the hell is Trissop? Jason Trissop. You know, that shady guy that's played by Cliff Curtis? In universe, he kind of disappeared. He went AWOL at Santa Soledad, and then Hiroshi's funeral happened, which supposedly would have taken months. So Trissop was AWOL for months. But now we know that Trissop, he was really working for Isabel the whole time. He was working for Isabel. He infiltrated Apex for Isabel. I mean, it's interesting. Their original plan was to go after the Scarabs, but plans change now that they know there's an egg. Well, Lee and Keiko, after some talking, they drive over to try to get Kate and Kentaro, who is standing right in front of Titan X, because Godzilla is arriving. Godzilla is minutes away. Jason Trissop and others arrive in vehicles to secure the egg, and I'm just thinking, they were already there? They just happened to be there already? Like, how long was Titan X beached on Australia for? To the point they had enough time for everyone to go to Australia. Well, Kate, because of this, learns that Kentaro betrayed her. And she's understandably not very happy. So we finally get a big CGI fight. We see Godzilla and Titan X fight. And what's more amazing is, this is a CGI fight during daytime, which is much harder to do than compared to nighttime CGI fights. And the CGI looks pretty good. But because of all the other, like, dialogue and human interactions in this episode, you can very much tell that, yeah, they padded out this episode with a bunch of humans talking just to reduce how much CGI fighting they would have to show. And it very much shows. Because there is very little CGI fights in this episode. It's more just the last couple of minutes of the episode. So yeah, Lee and Keiko, they can't get close enough because of the two of them fighting. What is that fire type? That fire type would be easy to take down, plus we get an item. Yeah, so they fly off with Titan X's egg. Godzilla uses his atomic breath to try to hit Titan X, of course. But instead, it almost looks like it hits and kills Trissop. It almost looks like Godzilla killed Jason with his atomic breath. It almost looks like it. I don't know. We'll have to see if he survived or not. So, Titan X chases after the egg. Godzilla follows, and the episode just ends. The episode just abruptly ends. That's why I'm saying this is a weird episode. It just abruptly ends. You know, they padded out 90% of the episode with human dialogue. When we finally get to see some Titan fighting action, it just abruptly ends. I'm hoping the next episode will blow me away. But I don't know. I know that they only have so much budget for the show, so they're trying to reduce how much Titan fighting they can actually show. But still, you know? You're backed by Apple. This is on Apple TV. You should have more than enough money for this. Oh, speaking of money and fundings, you want to know something funny? So earlier, when I mentioned that Heatran Hotel is getting 5 seasons, you can actually tell. Think of it this way. Amazon putting money into Invincible's animation? Amazon putting money into Heatran Hotel's animation. Alright, so that is all the shows I have to discuss for today. I could talk about From. I already watched the first episode of Season 4, but I'm going to hold off on talking about that show until Invincible is done. Which I should be done with Invincible next time, since I only have 1 episode left to go over. So, once Invincible is done, we will go over From. And, ooh, I got a lot of things to say about From. I know you missed it. I know you missed me talking about From. Oh yeah, I love me this show. This show is flawless. It's so good. The Russo brothers, they were executive producers on this show. It is so good. It is amazing. Gives me more hope for Avengers Doomsday. Let me see. So the next show coming out for me to watch is Spider Noir. That starts May 27th, so we're still a month away. And then once Spider Noir is here, there isn't really any other shows, at least that I'm aware of, that's coming out for the rest of the year that I'm going to watch. Well, aside from, I think, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2 comes out later this year, but we don't have a solid release date yet. Oh wait, no, there's still also Lanterns, that's right. We still have Lanterns coming out later this year. Lots of content. Lots and lots and lots. God damn it. Why did I have to get knocked out? I was about to Dynamax too. Oh! No, it's too early for me to talk about that. I was about to say something about Invincible, but no, I'll save that for discussing the finale. You know, people were pointing out how Homelander and Omni-Man were beating the life out of their sons. Coincidentally, both on Prime Video. Oh yeah, we did also get an official story trailer for Invincible Versus. In that, we see the Viltrumites wearing a new original black and orange suit. I'm gonna check out Invincible Versus. We also got a lot of the voice acting cast reveal for Invincible Versus. Finally! We get a check for Heatran. Hold on. Oh, whoops. I'll take this just because it's the worst option. Okay, that's a no-brainer. I'm here trying to find the voice cast for Invincible Versus. You wanna know what's crazy? It's actually Alex Lee who voices Mark in this game. You know who he voices? He voices Makoto Yuki in Persona 3 Reload. And he does a pretty good Steven Yeun impression. At first I thought it was actually Steven Yeun voicing Mark in this game, but no, it's Alex Lee. He does a really good Invincible impression. So aside from Alex Lee doing the voice of Invincible himself, let's see. J.K. Simmons is also returning to voice Omni-Man. It seems like J.K. Simmons is the only one who ever will voice Omni-Man, because he even voiced Nolan in Mortal Kombat 11. Gillian Jacob, well, she returns to voice Adam Eve. Let me see. So Cecil is voiced by someone else. Ross Marquand, he's gonna be voicing Robot and Conquest. What? And, you know, those are the only voice actors I would care to report on. Oh, remember how I said before, like, When is Lenny James gonna voice a character on Invincible? Turns out he already did. He voiced Darkwing. I didn't realize. It didn't really sound like him to me. Michael Cutlets also voiced Red Rush, which I didn't realize also. Sonequa Martin Green, she voiced Green Ghost. I also didn't realize that. And I think it was Chad Coleman who voiced Martian Man. Yo, a lot of these voices I didn't know was them. Did I just do life too? Whoops. Why do I hear Togetic's not arms. Why do I hear Togetic's wings flapping? Ah. Damn, I can't even take this for Screech. We don't really have that many physical moves. Well, whatever you say. Oh, right. Also in Invincible Born Again, Matt may have a foot fetish. Ooh, give me a sec, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. You know what? I'll take this. Because, you know, Fairy, not that good against Steel. And then, ideally, Rodon would swap here. So, let's see. Just a quick reminder about all the other films I have yet to go over. I still have yet to go over Project Hail Mary. I still have yet to go over Ready or Not 2. There's still Exit 8. So on top of going over all of these television programs, I still have those movies to go over. So stay tuned for that. Like I've been saying, this year has been absolutely fabulous for content. But, you know, it's almost like a little too much content for me to go over. There's so much. I think this will be my last run for tonight. We'll get this one done and then I'll call it for tonight. We'll continue next time. Man, screw it. I'm gonna take the life orb. You know, after this, I have another President's Play Pokemon Platinum Nuzlocke episode to watch on Game Producer 6's channel. That's what I'll be doing after this. And I'm going to continue to work on my Alpha Dex in Legends Arceus. I got the easy part out of the way, which is catching all the static alphas. Now comes the hard part. Literally everything else. Nice. Damn it! Why is it still not shiny? Alright, just let me double check. Where am I at in terms of ores? Okay, I still have a little bit of leeway. Okay. I'm gonna call it for now. But you know what? Just for fun, before I go, let me show you guys my process. My current... where I'm at for my Alpha Dex. Like I said, I got lucky with some, but I've really just finished collecting all of the static ones. I still have... I still have literally everything else to get in the game. I never thought I would come back and play this game so much. Okay, not these ones. I got these shinies starting from... yeah, starting from Gabite. I got all these shinies in the process. I got these two just today. And then... So, starting here are all my alphas. Some of them I still have yet to evolve. These are all the alphas I have collected so far. Again, some I need to evolve. I need to evolve these two into Scyther... Wait, into Scizor and Cleaver. What else? What else? What else? Yeah, these are all of the alphas I've collected so far. I still have quite a ways to go. I got lucky with the 2 Alpha Sneasels, but literally all other space-time distortion ones I'm not going to get too lucky with. Anyways, yep, there's my update. Or that's just where I am at with my Alpha decks. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.